We will now proceed with the Day 1 wrap-up. Our sincere thanks to everyone for your active participation throughout today's session. I now invite Mr. Richard Okuku, Secretary General of the Uganda Local Governments Association, to present the summary of the first day as Rapporteur. Please, Mr. Okuku.
Thank you, moderator. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name has been mentioned, Richard Okuku, the Secretary General of Uganda Local Governments Association, and I am honored to be your rapporteur for Day 1. So I'll read out the key messages for the day. And we are honored to be in Toyota City, which is the largest city in Aichi. Cities and towns across the globe face interlinked and growing crises as a result of conflicts, global economic uncertainty, increasing inequality, persistent poverty and anger, unemployment, the triple planetary crisis of climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss, and widening digital and political divides. So from the first opening sessions, these were made clear. And SDG localization was defined as the process of transforming the SDGs into reality at the local level, in coherence with national development frameworks and in line with local communities' priorities. Safe land, water, and air were critical for Sustainable Development Goal realization. We are also provided with the latest data from the United Nations that presents that over 55% of the world's population resides in urban areas, and that by 2050, 68% of the world's population is projected to be urban, with nearly 90% of the increase in urbanization occurring in Asia and Africa. So this is important for us to note, especially for us that come from Asia and Africa. We also noted that the World Urban Forum 13 will take place in Baku in 2026, and members were encouraged to participate. While spotlight the global housing crisis affecting nearly 3 billion people as a key driver of sustainable urban development. So it will be under the theme, Housing the World. Do you have a house as we speak today? So please prepare to participate in the Baku World Urban Forum. So the forum will explore how safe, resilient housing can advance equity, climate adaptation, and inclusive urban systems through practical, locally driven solutions. And then the Pact for the Future was adopted in September 2024, and it underscores the importance of a new urban agenda to localize sustainable development. Action 6, climate change and digital cooperation, including in the context of cities, by seeking the integration of local and regional governments into the global governance framework. The Pact will aim to leverage the unique position of local and regional governments in implementing and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Action 55. So with 65% of the SDG targets linked to the work and mandate of local and regional governments, localization is therefore a precondition for their understanding, uptake, and achievement. We concluded that first opening session by collective words of wisdom and voices of cities into policy making. So as we progressed into session 1, we discussed on the digital connectivity for preparedness and resilience. And we heard how artificial intelligence, or AI, and technological innovations can improve resilience of our data and infrastructure, learning from the example of Siem Reap that took the COVID-19 pandemic as an opportunity to invest into resilience, and our host, Japan and Toyota, showed that public-private partnerships are the key enablers to create the cooperation between finance, people, and technology in the use of data for resilience. Korea shared how IFES is adopting from smart city to an AI city vision, putting industry and AI services and technologies for citizen benefit. So how many of us have moved to AI? That's a question for us to ponder on, and we have an opportunity to learn from Korea. So climate change requires us all to adopt, but we have been adopting since the beginning 300,000 years ago. If we innovate and invest into resilience to keep our economic competitiveness, we can do it. We can achieve the resilience that we desire. And therefore, resilience must be built into everything that we design and operate by building back as a motto. So we had that experience where it was concluded that we need to build back better. Important to note is that data alone cannot save lives, but cooperation involving data, technology, and people. So when you have the data alone, without the people, without the technology, it may not be useful in building resilient cities. Trust and inclusion of the people is critical for the success of building resilience through digital connectivity. So there is a quote that we picked from Honorable Mr. Sutomu Yata, the town mayor of Susami Town, Japan. It was very interesting. He said, do not do anything you cannot do, but just start with what you have. And I think that was very important. Start with what you have. Do not do anything you cannot do, but start with what you have. Session 2 reminded us that nearly 3 billion people face housing challenges. And here we had a speaker from Tanzania, who introduced that now they have a national housing corporation and putting up some houses for the civil servants and for the poor people, and even a green water bond to ensure quality water in Tanga, for example. The unplanned growth amidst rapid urbanization was leading to development of slums, and the land prices were going high. We had the experience of Masaka City that shared on establishing and utilizing the building control committees and conservation through nature-based solutions and youth sensitization to support sustainable housing and building. Blatter shared how cities in landlocked environments can also invest in upgrading planning to correct past mistakes and ensure transport and energy services alongside. Seberang Perai shared an example of gender-responsive participatory budgeting and planning for adaptive reuse, reforming old infrastructure into new spaces, and the adaptation of the PPP, the 4 Ps, public-private partnerships, and the people, most importantly. So introducing the people aspect in the PPP arrangement was very critical in building resilience. There were some 3 critical takeaways where all design should be people-centered, and then governance should reflect from the local innovations to the national innovations, and data and trust while utilizing data in a respectful way. So we needed to also observe people's privacy. Session 3, we showcased the circularity solutions, sharing the initiatives from Kigali, where the importance of business models and waste valorization was noted, especially for organic waste. But the key point was also leadership to change social norms. So linking circular economy to different sectors of agriculture, construction, water, transport, green jobs, and ensuring social inclusion and innovation. So this was a critical lesson that we picked from Kigali, that the circular economy was linked to not only one sector, but to a number of sectors, adding value. From Kuching, we noted that how community action and culture is also important because of the growing mountains of our West. He emphasized the shift from take, make, dispose to reuse, repair, and recycle for as long as you can. And it was also concluded that awareness, collaboration, and small actions make big changes in the end. So we picked a quote from the mayor of Kuching, South City, where he said, promoting a circular economy is not just about waste, it's about wisdom, responsibility, and resilience. So in the same session, the World Bank introduced a new fund, and UNEP and UN Habitat also shared the potential cooperation opportunities, as well as a call to cities to take advantage of the fund for better waste management. So as you leave in a few days to come, please prepare to take advantage of the call to benefit from the waste management fund. Priority action was that waste separation or sorting was key to tackling waste management. Invest in the youth and then scale up. Partnerships based on major challenges identified. So here are the instances that let the partnerships be based on the major challenges you are faced with in your cities. There are also a recommendation of effective strategies to engage lifestyle changes. This required education incentives and involving vulnerable communities, partnerships with the private sector, and doing the right things, not what makes you popular. And this is a message to the political leaders. Let's do the right things, and let's not do things that make us popular. But if the right thing will make us popular, let's then do it. So we also had a question on what could be the benefits of a circular economy. And here we looked at the economic and social resilience as a benefit. And then community engagement and waste reduction are more sustainable approaches than just raising or putting a number of dumping sites. So we needed to engage more the community members, and then reduce on the waste. There were about 4 key takeaways in session 3, where we talked about integration of circular economy in all aspects of development, the multi-stakeholder partnerships being critical in building a cleaner city, the policy and regulatory, as well as the finance barriers, remained a challenge and yet another opportunity that we need to tap into. So there are policies that have not been implemented, there are regulations that have not been implemented, and whereas these could be barriers, but there are also opportunities that we can tap into, learning from the experiences we have had from other cities. Resource efficiency carries along benefits. So session number 4, which was the last session, as I conclude, focused on the key links between competitiveness, technological innovation for resilient growth, and climate adaptation, where we learned from Karachi on how it is innovating in this regard, and it made its commitment once again to efforts to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, making the city sustainable, promoting green energy and waste management. While he was concluding, he made a call for partnerships in climate change adaptation and innovation. So please visit Pakistan and become a partner with them. From Paraguay was noted how despite drought, it is advancing on water management with a focus on planning and budgeting. We also had a presentation where panelists from Toyota Motor Corporation that noted its commitment to climate change mitigation by adopting the producing happiness for all. So I hope at the end of the day, we can all be happy. So through the multi-pathway strategy, which considers the go carbon neutral in inclusive ways, that's carbon neutral, hydrogen, and electricity. And the United Nations Industrial Development Organization highlighted the importance of industrial development for resilient adaptation to the climate crisis, and sustainable technology promotion platforms, the STEP, which was demonstrated to us, that shares information on Japanese technologies, that contribute to sustainable industrialization, promoting the transfer of such technologies to developing and emerging countries. So as we go back, this is a lesson that we are also picking today, that there is a technological transfer program happening that we need to leverage. So as we leave, I will be very much interested in learning more about this, and I hope you too will take this very keenly. There were a number of examples that were given, and here about 150 technologies are registered, and these are owned by small private companies in Japan. So the smokeless incinerator for medical and industrial waste. In many of the African countries, we are suffering with medical waste, how to manage medical waste. So we have a sustainable way of disposing of this waste. Then we also have waste to resource recycling with rice husk brisket. You can turn this into like charcoal. Isn't this interesting for us that come from Africa? I think this is very interesting, very sustainable, instead of just throwing the rice husks. Then waste to resource recycling with end-of-life vehicle and reusable female sanitary absorbent underwear. So the one on the vehicles was very much interesting. For us that come from Uganda, there is a lot of, vehicle waste. And I believe in most parts of Africa. My brother from Tanzania is saying, indeed, that's true. So it's an interesting lesson for us that we can recycle, these vehicles whose life had come to an end. And then for the females, the reusable female sanitary absorbent underwear, and this really calls for a lot of mindset change. It calls for a lot of mindset change with our youthful populations in Africa. And as she concluded, she called upon members to visit the site for more details and to reach out for connections to the relevant technologies. So if you want to learn more about the different technologies, she highlighted 150, but she only gave us about 4. So you cannot get all the 150 if you just sit back and relax. You need to reach out and get to learn on what can be applicable in your country and city. The UN Habitat finally, Rob shared on the impact of climate change in the Asia Pacific and the interventions driven by local context. So for all interventions to be successful, they should be driven by the local context. And it is not a one-size-fits-all. She emphasized that what works in Toyota may not work in Mombasa. What works in Mombasa may not necessarily work in Zambia. So it's very important for us to know that, and then let all our developments be driven by local context. She encouraged, this was through encouraged strengthening local resilience, inclusive and participatory planning, policy alignment, and capacity building. Lastly, the aspect of participation of the citizens or the local people that will benefit from whatever kind of innovation or development has been emphasized throughout the day. So I hope as you go back, you will continuously involve your local communities to ensure that they benefit from the innovations and the development that you carry along. I want to thank you, and if there is anything that you believe is critical for us to note, I think you will have an opportunity to share your thoughts, and we'll make these additions. I want to thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Okuku, for an excellent summary of today's wide-ranging discussions.